Texas State and South Alabama was the Sun Belt game of the year. It's Locked On Sun Belt.
You are Locked On Sun Belt, your daily podcast on the Sun Belt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sun Belt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. All right, one more week of Sun Belt basketball. Regular season ends this week. It ends on Friday, giving everybody the weekend, I guess, and then the tournament starts the following Tuesday. We will have Matt Stewart on hopefully the first day of the tournament. All right. Although the tournament will start that day, we will preview it on that day. So that is the plan. We'll see if the plans change. Baseball happened. I know the Cajuns took 2 out of 3 from Nebraska. We may look back at that Texas Southern ball game that turned their season around. With a long way to go. I get it. We're only 2 weekends in. And the bats finally came around. Again, we're only 2 weekends in, so we shall see. I think South Alabama cooled off. Southern Miss looks really good. So we shall go from there. All right, but we got basketball to talk about, and I still think I have Chris Finwood from Old Dominion to put out there. I think that's the last baseball preview. We will do that tomorrow. All right, but JMU is heading to the number 1 seed. I did have to look. They were not the regular season champs last year. I did not know that App State was the regular season champs. And I do think the Sun Belt tournament is wide open. The final score of the Texas State South Alabama game notwithstanding. And I think that was the game of the year. I thought both teams played very well. And I guess, I'll take it on the chin by very well, I think, played offense. I don't think the defense was that bad. The 3-pointers that, Texas State was hitting, those were not cheapy 3-pointers by any stretch of the imagination. Colton Benson was hitting, logo 3-pointers. He was 5 of 8. And usually when South Alabama moves those guys back from hitting 22-footers, they move back to 25 feet and they miss, but they weren't missing. And so we'll talk about that ball game. And I think that ball game epitomizes why I think that this tournament is wide open. Now, Matt Stewart doesn't believe that a team that can win 4 games in a row can win it. I don't happen to think both semifinalists are going to win it. So the difference between what we've had the last few years in the tournament and this year is that the 2 top seeds go right to the semifinals. So you only have to win 2 ball games. And there's no off days. So the lower seeds used to play on like Tuesday, so right, but then get Wednesday off and then play on a Thursday, and that's not much of an advantage for the guys who haven't played on a week, right? So you play on a Friday, and then you're not playing again until the following Thursday, and yet the lesser seeds played on a Tuesday, got off Wednesday, and now are playing. So it wasn't much of an advantage. All right, having said that, let's talk about this Bobcats Jaguars basketball game. Texas State wins it 93-92 in what I just thought was a classic basketball game. And it was tied at half. For some reason, I guess it was tied at half. I thought South Alabama was kind of in control for most of the game and just couldn't quite pull away. They did have a 9-point lead, kind of like an 8-7 point lead in the second half, and just couldn't quite pull away because Texas State kept on making 3-pointers. As I mentioned, Benson came off of the bench. In 22 minutes, he had 19 points. Ogero, in 29 minutes, he had 13 points. He was 3 of 4 from 3. And so it's not like South Alabama went cold over an extended period of time, but they were giving up every 2 points that they scored for the most part was 3 points for Texas State. However, Barry Dunning Jr. it's probably a little bit too late for him to become the Sun Belt Player of the Year, although I don't know who it's going to be. Maybe Akili Keelan from Marshall. He just had the best game of the year in the Sun Belt. Barry Dunning Jr., and maybe it's just the matchup because he just had 2 back-to-back ball games against Texas State were spectacular. He had 46 points, 13 of 20 shooting, 9 of 12 from three-point land. All right. It should be noted he's really not a good three-point shooter. That's not his thing. He is actually a really good mid-range shooter. This year, he's shooting 30% from three-point land. So he's usually really good at the pull-up, free throw line jumper, a curl at the elbow, driving to the basket and pulling up, and we'll just start driving to the bucket. But he had a spectacular basketball game, and it just wasn't enough. And so Texas State wins it. But both teams had multiple chances of winning this game. Again, South Alabama led by 7, 8, 9, just could not pull away because Texas State was hitting threes. So just take the end of the game, tie ball game. South Alabama has the ball. Miles Corey for South Alabama throws it away. Texas State, one of two things going to happen. They're either going to go in for a game-winning layup or they're going to get fouled. But they throw the ball away. Barry Dunning gets the ball back immediately, shoots it, misses. I believe it was Judah Brown who gets the rebound. I thought that shot was going in. He misses. Barry Dunning Jr. gets the rebound. He misses the putback. He was fouled. They didn't call it. That's not why the game was won or lost. Should have been a foul. Clear foul. Was not called. It is what it is. We go to overtime. But that just happened in the last 10 seconds of the game, right? Turnover, 3 missed shots. Putback should have been by Barry Dunning. He should have made it. All right. Fouled or not, he should have made it. Nonetheless, that just happened in the last 10 seconds of regulation. Now we go to the last 30 seconds of the game. And at this point in time, Texas State has a 4-point lead. They took control of overtime. And usually when you have like a possession lead or 2, you win in overtime. And I don't think South Alabama had the lead in overtime until 5.6 seconds in OT. And it's a crazy ending. So Texas State takes a 4-point lead. Barry Dunning comes back and makes a 3 to make it a 1-point game with about, I guess we can figure that out with a play-by-play, with about 20 seconds left to go. Let me see. Because I thought they didn't have to foul. They would have had to foul again. They could have, let me see. When did they foul? It was with 20 seconds. So you could have gone to the hoop. All right. Basically what I'm saying, because it was a 1-point game and they fouled Benson. And so even if he makes 2 free throws, it's a 3-point game. You still have time. They're not going to foul you. So you can go to the hoop, make a layup, down by 1, make them make 2 free throws again. Well, he makes 1 free throw. Texas State gets the rebound, throws it back over midcourt. Turnover. So it's a 2-point game, and South Alabama has the basketball. Barry Dunning Jr. gets an and 1. So Texas State went from a 4-point lead to a 1-point lead to a 2-point lead. They're down 1. South Alabama is going to win this basketball game, and then they forgot to play defense. Mark Drone went to the length of the court without any hesitation. They were so worried. Barry Dunning was so worried about the corner 3. He didn't get in front of the ball. As a guy who was the 13th man on a 12-man JV basketball team, the first rule on a fast break is stop ball. They never stopped the ball. Miles Corey never got in front of Mark Drone, and he just went right up for a layup. They never stopped the ball, and Texas State won the game. This is not your typical South Alabama ball game because they average about 74 points a game. They give up about 60, maybe a little bit more than that these days. But because, and remember, they needed overtime. They've played back-to-back overtime games, right? And Texas State is a 500 team at best. But the way that South Alabama plays, they don't beat anybody lately anyways. They haven't dominated anybody in a few weeks because they're not this offensive powerhouse and people have figured out the zone. Anybody can beat anybody in this thing is what I'm saying, right? App State just took it on the chin by 10 at home by Marshall. Arkansas State, they beat ULM, but they had lost 4 out of 5, right? JMU, we could get into this here in a minute. The only thing about JMU, they're going to be the hottest team in the conference, having probably won 11 straight conference games, but they haven't played anybody in that stretch. Like, I don't think out of the top 6 teams, they will have not played anybody, I don't believe, in this 11-game winning streak. But I just think it's wide open, and I don't think the 2 top seeds will be there. But I just think it was the game of the year. It was statistically, it was fantastic. Texas State shot over 52%. South Alabama shot almost 51%. South Alabama shot almost 45% from 3. Texas State shot 46% from 3. South Alabama was 20 of 23 from the free throw line. Texas State, 12 of 16. Turnovers were limited. Both teams, less than 10 turnovers. Unbelievable. And you heard the free throws. There weren't a whole lot. And remember, those were overtime numbers. I said 9-point lead. South Alabama's largest lead was 8. Texas State's largest lead was 4. I just thought it was the game of the year. And that game epitomizes my belief that the Sun Belt tournament is wide open. I think any one of the top 6 teams can win this thing. Anyone can go on a little bit of a run. I wouldn't be surprised if a team like the Cajuns, not necessarily going on a run because they got to win too many games, but don't be surprised if they knock somebody off. All right. Don't be surprised if they knock somebody off. All right. Let's take a time out. When do you know it? JMU, the defending Sun Belt champions, it should be mentioned, are looking like the number 1 seed and the regular season champs with 1 week to play. We'll do that right after I tell you about Prize Picks. March Madness is here, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 players' projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's easy, it's fast, and it keeps every game exciting. Building lineups this week, I'm looking at Jason Tatum for more than 29 points and Zion Williamson for more than 25 points. It's quick and easy. I love how I can make my picks in less than 60 seconds and stay engaged all game long, and the payouts are fast. When I win, my money hits my account in as little as 15 minutes, no waiting around, and of course, you got Taco Tuesday deals. Prize Picks even offers weekly promos like Taco Tuesday, where you get discounted player projections, even for more value. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Let's go over the rest of the Sunbelt action from Saturday. JMU does get that number 1 seed, but again, a great example of, doesn't get the number 1 seed. They are in first place in the Sunbelt. They hang on to defeat Georgia Southern 78-73, but they did win. But Georgia Southern ain't all that good, and James Madison is, and they hung on to win the ball game, but not by a whole lot. All right, so it's tied at half, 37-all, and JMU wins it 78-73. But that's the kind of example where almost anybody can win. Oddly enough, I mean, this is very odd. I don't know what's going on with Georgia Southern. Nate Bradford, no points, 0-1 shooting in 10 minutes. I don't know if he got hurt. And Tyson Brown, 0-1 in 16 minutes. He didn't score any points. He was in foul trouble. Bradley Douglas, who's now coming off the bench, but still playing starter minutes, 32 minutes. He had 18 points. Nakevian White, in 19 minutes, he had 18 points. Adante Holyman, he's the leading scorer in the conference right now. He had 15 points. James Madison, a lot of effort from the starters leading the way. Bryce Lindsey, he had 18 points. Elijah Hutchins Everett had 16, and Mark Freeman with 13. Xavier Brown from last year's squad, he came off of the bench in 30 minutes. He had 11 points. JMU with a 78-73 victory. JMU now 12-4, and again they are on a 9-game winning streak. This did not come out of nowhere, folks. Let me tell you which game it was. It probably would have been maybe the Troy ball game. They beat Troy at home 64-61, and I was surprised that they were favored in that ball game. And that was their 5th win in a row at home. Then they went on the road to lose to Toledo, but they've reeled off 9 straight Sun Belt victories. And we mentioned this a few weeks ago after they beat Troy. So maybe Troy's going to be the only team. I take that back, right? In the 11-game winning streak, Troy will be the only team in the top 6. But there's a lot of Georgia Southerns, a lot of Coastals, and we got ULM and Texas State in there. So they got Old Dominion twice. They got Georgia State twice. They got Coastal Carolina twice. So that is 2, 4, 6. Let's see who else. Old Dominion, Georgia State, Coastal Carolina, and Georgia Southern. So that's 8. ULM and Texas State. That's 9, 10. And then Troy is 11. No. Again, all I'm saying is that the competition is not the best. Toledo was good. All right. And they had a good showing against Toledo, did lose on the road. That's probably a game that JMU wins at home. Just saying. They're going at Monroe and they're going at Texas State. Not going to be easy games. All right. Those are not easy games to win. Just saying. They should win them. Not necessarily easy games to win. I'll just say it. All right. But right now, JMU is your lead, is your top team in the Sun Belt. Marshall takes care of App State. Both teams now 10-6. Thundering Herd 69-59 over App State. App State actually got back in this ball game, was just down by 1, and just could not keep up with Marshall. Marshall just made big shot after big shot. Dzane Mazingo had a big ball game, 25 points. Jalen Spears, 16. Nate Martin, 15. They were just hitting from all over. And it wasn't like App State was not playing good defense. Just, they even held Akili Keelan into check. 6 points on 2 of 5 shooting, 4 rebounds. But everybody else had a big ball game. CJ Huntley was outstanding, 27 points, 7 rebounds. Miles Tate held under his average, 10 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. Jalen Boburn had 13 points. Tough loss for App State. Marshall's one of those teams that could make a nice little run in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. All right. Arkansas State with a nice senior day blowout over ULM, 95-70. And I'm a big believer in this. I like that senior day tradition. Avery Feltz got the start, 22 minutes, 6 points, 2 of 6 shooting. I like that, right? I'm not even sure how much the kid plays. I don't think he plays very much, at all. He averaged 13 minutes a game this year. So he does play a little bit. And I just like the idea of, as a kid who did not play very much, that the seniors get to start on a senior day. It could have been a Hank Iba thing. I have no idea. As far as I know, it's a Dean Smith thing. Dean Smith would have the seniors start on senior day. It may not have been for more than 2 minutes at the time, right? Like, you're going to go out there. You're going to be out there for the jump ball. The starters are going to come in at the first dead ball. It may have been more for that in this case, but I just like that tradition. And Brian Hodgins continued it here. None of the starters played more than 30 minutes is what you're looking for, and everyone got to play. DeAndre Dominguez, great ball game, 20 points in 17 minutes. You love that. Isaiah Nelson continues his good play, 18 points and 10 rebounds in 29 minutes. Arkansas State, 11-5. They're tied with South Alabama for a second place. All right, let's see what else we got here. Troy, they are still there. They had a big second half. Coastal gave them all they could in the first half, 33 all, but a big second half. Troy pulls away 83-66. Troy is also in second place, but I guess South Alabama has the tiebreaker over Troy. I'm not sure what that is. They split. An odd ball game here because, again, maybe this was senior day as well. 3 of the starters did not score very much for Troy. That could be senior day thing as well. Tate Conaway, 21 points, 8 assists, 3 steals, 6 rebounds. He's just had a great career there for Troy. And Miles Rigsby, he had 20 points as well. Thomas Dowd off the bench, he had 18 points. So maybe that's what it was. But that was on the road. That other team was on the road. Troy is at home. For Coastal Carolina, Nolan Amenhauser had a big ball game with 24 points and 8 rebounds. We'll go over the standings here in a minute. And Georgia State, I mean, they keep on moving up. Nice win on the road, 76-70. They are 8-8. They beat Old Dominion. And the Cajuns all of a sudden are 8-8. They're hot. They beat Southern Miss 62-60. As Southern Miss has just not had a good season at all. These two teams, it's unreal. These two teams overall record about the same. Cajuns 11-18, Southern Miss 10-19. But the Cajuns are 8-8 in the Sun Belt, and Southern Miss is 5-11. That's crazy. All right. Let's see where we are here time-wise. You know what? Let's take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll go over the standings. And again, I think it's wide open in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. So we will do that right after I tell you about FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. And there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Again, I think we got Chris Finwood for Tuesday's episode. Then we can preview basketball. Matt Stewart, who will be calling the games. And again, it's not his decision, but they will be in New Orleans again. It is what it is. I'll get some criticism for that. That's a Sunbelt thing. It's not Matt's fault, unfortunately. But he'll come on and preview the Sunbelt Conference tournament, and we will have that on Tuesday, the first day of the tournament, is the way that's going to work out. So appreciate Matt Stewart coming on and talking about it. Again, I happen to think it's wide open. I think any one of the top 6 or 8 teams will have to go through that now. But he doesn't think anybody who has to win 4 ball games is going to be able to do it. So maybe that's the top 6. Maybe I'll go through that. Let me see. Let's see if we can do that here. All right. Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. So let's see if we can find the championships here. And let's see where we are. I need the bracket. Let's see if we get the bracket here. Okay. So, All right. So 5 and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. See, I think 5 and 6 can win it. He doesn't think so. I think they can. We'll see. Because they would have to win 4 ball games. All right. But it's not going to matter if both top seeds are knocked off. All right. I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen, but I think one of them will be. All right. So let's go over the standings. So basically, I should bring this up, but I don't have that capability right now. Preview. So basically, the top 2 seeds get all the way to the semifinals. If you're the 3rd or the 4th seed, you get to the quarterfinals, but you have to win 3 ball games. If you're the 3rd or 4th seed, if you're the 5th and 6th seed, then you have to win 4 ball games. Right? You will play. It doesn't have a date. What I'm looking at, but you would have to win the game that you're on, right? Then you'd have to win. Then you'd have to play the 3 or 4 seed, right? Then you'd have to play the number 1 or 2 seed, and then you'd have to play the winner of that game. So he doesn't think so. I do. Let's go through the standings. All right. See if we can prove the point and where my delineation is, because I think App may not be in the top 4 seeds, and I think they can win it. So right now, James Madison is your number 1 seed. I think they can win it, but I also think they could lose in their first game because I don't think they're a dominant basketball team. They're a good basketball team, but other than Troy, they just haven't played anybody in the better part of what is going to be a month. And they beat Troy at home by 3. Arkansas State, supposed to be the best team in the conference. And when's their last big win? Right? To be honest with you, they lost to South Alabama twice. I mean, Troy is their biggest win. They beat Troy at home. That's their biggest win of the season, right? They lost at James Madison. They did beat UAB at UAB. They beat Memphis, but that's a long time ago now, right? We're talking at Memphis, right? They beat James Madison at James Madison. Or no, I'm sorry, they lost at JMU. So their biggest win is at Troy. That's their biggest win. They lost at Marshall. They lost to Troy at home. They lost to South Alabama at home. You know, they don't have that great of wins. Let's see where we are. Okay. So that is, to me, that is interesting. South Alabama's tough, but their style of play leaves them open to possibilities. Again, JMU can win it. Arkansas State can win it. South Alabama can win it, but they can also lose it. Troy's a little bit of an enigma. They can play really good, or they can be really bad, right? I mean, and they did it all in one game against South Alabama. They were down by 20 to South Alabama and then almost beat them. Should have beat them, probably. And that's in one ball game. All right. And so those are the top 4 teams as of right now. So although on ESPN.com or even at the South Alabama, it must be because they got one more win overall. Arkansas State is listed second. South Alabama swept them. So South Alabama is in second place. All right. They're ahead of Arkansas State. I don't know why they're ahead of Troy. I don't know what that tiebreaker is per se, because South Alabama and Troy split. But whatever the case may be, I guess because South Alabama beat Arkansas State twice. And if you're going to do the 3 teams, South Alabama has more wins between those 3 teams between each other. Maybe that's it. Again, Sunbelt tiebreakers make my head hurt. You guys know that. So South Alabama is second. And I thought Arkansas State's 4th. But whatever the case is. So right now, James Madison, James Madison, South Alabama are your number 1 and 2 seeds. I think Troy is 3 and Arkansas State is 4. All right. I still think like an App State and Marshall at 5 and 6 can make a run. I really do. Now, South Alabama, they got the Cajuns. They're at Southern Miss. That shouldn't be a tough ball game. Southern Miss just let Andre Curbelo go. They just dismissed him. They announced his dismissal. I'm guessing he did not play against the Cajuns. But they did. Yeah, they just dismissed him. I don't know why. Doesn't really matter. But the South Alabama has Southern Miss, and then they get the Cajuns at home. Tricky. Don't dismiss the Cajuns because, again, they're 8-8, right? Those are not going to be necessarily easy ball games, but those should be 2 ball games that South Alabama should win, and they should go right to the semifinals. All right. But I still think App State and Marshall. App State's got a couple of really good players, if not 3 really good players, and they very easily could knock off, if they win, why can't they knock off a Troy or Arkansas State? Right? And that's the thing. If a top seed gets knocked off, then all of a sudden, or if both top seeds get knocked off, then both teams are, so a 5 or 6 seed is playing a 4th game, but someone else may be playing a 3rd game compared to, like South Alabama had maybe 2 extra games the other year, and the Cajuns had one less, maybe, I don't know if it was one less game, but again, that game went down to the wire, right? That really didn't have anything to do with the legs. That had to do with Themis Folks making threes that he had made all year, right? No, I'm not sure that had anything to do with anyone and the legs. So it'll be interesting to see on how that works out. Now, if you do have, James Madison who makes it, and say, Marshall is playing their 4th game in 4 days and James Madison is playing their 2nd, yes, I think that's going to be a tough shot for James Madison. All right. That's going to be, or a tough shot for Marshall, but I'm not sure that's going to play out that way. All right. So that would be a situation, but I do think any one of those teams can win it. I wouldn't be surprised if a Louisiana, Georgia State, Texas State knocks somebody off. I wouldn't be surprised if Old Dominion knocks somebody off. They have the firepower to do it. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to knock off 2 or 3 teams, but I think those teams have the firepower to do it. Making a deep run is really hard in this tournament. So it is going to be a marathon. They are playing from Tuesday the 4th, all the way to March the 10th. It is, they get the primetime game all to themselves before, as the rest of the college basketball season winds up. All right. Thanks very much for tuning in. We went long. Love talking some college hoops. Let me know what you guys think. I happen to think that Bobcats Jaguars game was the game of the year. Let me know what you guys think. I may be, deferring to better offense than better defense. I just thought it was a great basketball game. Again, a little tiny call going Texas State's way. It is what it is. That's not why South Alabama lost by any stretch of the imagination. They had plenty of opportunities to win that game and give it up to Texas State for pulling that game out. They very easily, again, a couple of those threes don't go in, and all of a sudden South Alabama's 8-point lead is like 14. So good job by Texas State to come back and win that basketball game. All right, please like and share anytime you see it. Really appreciate it. And you've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Hope you had a great weekend. Have a great Monday, and we'll talk to you again on Tuesday.